are coaches helping women to flourish and shine. So, welcome to the Shine Factor today. And I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, Shannon.
Shannon Spencer, Freedom to Flourish coach and empower of women entrepreneurs. And many of you know I have been sick for the past couple of weeks, and I am so thankful to have a partner in Reanette. I was really tempted to just go, you know what, we haven't gone for 2 weeks, and today my ears are still fluffed up after all this time. But because I have a great partner in Reanette, here we are.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we're both back. I was sick the week before that. So, I accidentally just no showed, not even thinking what was going on. I was so sick. So I apologize for that. So yeah, we've been off for a couple weeks and we're back and just talking about that, Shannon, about the power that we have in, women friendships and connecting with each other and making sure that we are always there to help each other shine and keep moving forward when we're sick. And I think I find that sometimes the people that I rely on most are those people that are going to support and help you shine on those days that you're not feeling great or, trying to get through and trying to just get back on track when things kind of get off track. We got off track and today we picked up and said, okay, we're going to keep going and we're going to continue our partnership and, continue to help other people shine. And so, I think that powerful connection with women and being soulful with each other is so important. And sometimes women miss that and they get more intimidated by each other rather than encouraged by each other.
I think
What are
it's
kind of your thoughts?
really easy for us to see somebody that we admire and we're like, oh, I'm not as good as them, or to feel um, just like maybe we just aren't enough. And
Mhm.
so rather than reaching out and trying to find out what they've been doing or what works for them, or to encourage them, especially on their journey, wow, you really
Mhm.
you said such and such, we pull back and we hide. And I think it's just so much better I know for myself, when I reach out and say, wow, that just really was so cool. Just like you and I have been listening to this Matthew McConaughey thing, right?
Yeah.
And you got up the Marie Folio thing and asked me if I had written down, what was it that you asked me if I had written
You're
down?
saying what you don't do anymore. She was talking about she doesn't do, what was it?
She
Uh,
doesn't do.
Procrastination or
Yeah,
self pity, or it could be any of those things.
right, exactly. That she doesn't do that anymore. And I hadn't been writing things down, but you shared yours, which is.
I don't believe in I don't do disbelief in myself.
That's right. And so then I heard that and I was like, that's exactly what I want to say too. That's
Yeah.
the things that you and I both have been working on is, up leveling our businesses, up leveling ourselves, the things, the services that we're offering to people, but also just living our best life. Right.
Mhm.
So often it's so easy to just, especially when you get sick and you get off track and things just aren't going right, to just go, oh, maybe I wasn't meant to do this.
Yeah. It's so easy too when you're not picking up traction to think to yourself, gosh, am I not doing the right thing? Or one of the things I always get caught up in is saying, I don't have enough, there's not enough money out there for somebody else to want my coaching or my services or pay for my services. And that's a disbelief in myself that there's not enough because there's plenty out there. And
Right.
so when we can encourage each other, and you and I, we do similar things, but different things. But our goal is ultimately the same, right? Is to watch women flourish and to not, I love when I meet women that do the same thing and we're not intimidated about maybe not taking, because I not would not take someone's business, but that they're doing the same thing and wow, they're one of my competitors. Well, not really, because everybody sees things differently and I'm going to relate to different people than you're going to relate to. And so I think, women can tend to think that they can't shine on their own or that somebody else is going to shine bigger than they are. And we can't believe that.
It's like, so, many of our watchers, viewers know, and in fact, I had somebody who was sharing a lot of our information when I brought it up a couple weeks ago about this retreat that we were going to do this week on Friday, the Radiant and Renewed retreat.
Mhm.
And it's three of us coaches. Somebody approached me and said, "Wow, are you guys collaborating together?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm so excited that Jan and you and I are collaborating together, because we are three very different women, and we believe the same things and we want the same things. It's just we have different ways of communicating them, different skill sets and even or similar tool sets, to bring things about. But we just, we're unique, and people are going to gravitate to whichever one of us or none of us that they want to. And I was, being sick for the past, well, you too, so like basically for the last 3.5 weeks, we've been out of commission as far as being able to really market and get the things out there for the retreat. And then, making the decision that everybody's so busy that instead of just trying to make it happen no matter what, it was like, oh, let's take a step back and reevaluate it and say, okay, well, we think that this is going to be a better thing in the fall than it is going to be this week. And, at first I was kind of bummed about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was looking at it and going, but it's not, it's not a failure. It's just a timing thing, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
is it because one of us, let the rest of the group down by not being able to do anything for a couple of weeks, right? I mean, it's just we were all doing the things that we were doing. The situation is what it is, and we are still powerful and wonderful. And when we get a chance to collaborate again,
Mhm.
awesome. But in the meantime, we each all have our other things that are going on. And
Well, and that just talking about that event is that there was, very powerful women coming together that have a vast amount of knowledge and experience in helping other women to be successful, coming together to work with each other. And we each had different pieces, right? Yours was about flourishing, mine was about connection, Jan was about uh, another piece of that. And so bringing powerful women together to send a message, because let's face it, not everybody is going to get on live and talk. Not everybody is going to put their face out on social media and do shorts. Not everybody's going to do that. And so when we come together and we have all this knowledge that people can learn from and ask questions to, it would, it's just, that's something that we want to offer to everybody, is that ability to come to live and ask questions. And how did we become confident? How did we become successful? How do we learn from each other on a day-to-day basis? And just that overwhelming desire to really send powerful messages on a regular basis to help women succeed. And,
I
you know,
see, not to
go
interrupt,
ahead.
but for just a second, I see we actually have 5 people who are watching us.
Sweet.
I'm so excited. Nobody has made any comments. So Reanette and I love talking to each other, and we can spend our time talking to each other about shining and connection. But if and now somebody dropped off. It's down to 4 now. But if you are watching us, or you're watching the replay, and we can go back and look at your comments, say hi, send us some love. No, let us know who's here, and also let us know if you have a power partner in your life, or if you are looking for a power partner in your life, because oh my gosh, it is so awesome to have somebody to walk alongside together in a common goal, even though we do things separately. We have our own businesses and our own way of showing up in life. We still can show up for each other and shine the spotlight on each other. And we'd love to shine the spotlight on you too. So
Yeah. Well, how would you define a power partner?
to me, a power partner is, so like you and I have talked about, we're accountability partners for each
Mm-hmm.
other. So we have goals that we have for ourselves. And a power partner is somebody who comes alongside and just like encourages us, right? Like, I encourage you and you encourage me to step out of the box and to do the things that we need to do. And I know that you have been a gift for, like, when I felt down one day, you totally noticed it. And when I kind of dropped out of sight, because I have a tendency to hide a little bit when
Mm-hmm.
start overwhelming to me. And you just sent me a text and said, hey, how are you? Just checking in. To me, that is actually an empowering partner, right?
Right.
It made me feel seen. It made me feel valued. And that's the same that I hope I do for you, is that, we power together, we empower each other to walk alongside, to meet our individual goals that we
Mhm.
have for ourselves.
Yeah, and you and I met through Toastmasters virtually during COVID, right? And so now we're coming out of this COVID stage where, people are trying to reconnect and trying to figure out where is this world coming from today? And
Right.
wow, social media has blown up and lives have blown up. Like all these things have blown up because so many people are more online. And so having been able to coming and partner alongside of you, also me coming into a town that I haven't been here as long as you have, and kind of giving me a heads up of where we can go and the things that we can do, and then having some things in common of with the whole Toastmasters thing and wanting to speak better and be more in tuned, but then also realizing that we can't let some things consume us, like Toastmasters can't consume us either, which it
Right.
could be very time consuming. But you were amazing in setting that up. But having that partner of just seeing things differently and giving different perspectives. And when we were looking at the retreat, is the different perspectives that you come along with, and there's no intimidation, there's no threat, there's that just ability to be able to say, hey, here's what I think needs to happen, and then we work on that, put it together, and we move forward. So I think that's been great for me, is that relationship with you of just the different things that you do in executive leadership, and then with women, and also just your connections and how you connect. And it encourages me to go out and realize I need to connect with the type of people that I typically would connect with. Right. So that's been a blessing to have. But let's talk about a little bit about like how that those powerful connections can get restarted after, as we're listening to this Matthew McConaughey thing today, is really realizing how much people are feeling disconnected
Mm.
after COVID. I mean, you've talked about that. That's something that you brought up to me, is that you feel like there's still this disconnection and people really not getting out. And I know for myself, I don't get out as much as I used to. Could be because I moved, but it also could be because of COVID. But
Right.
how do we reconnect now that we're back in the day-to-day life and world, and so much change during COVID? Like I said, I think from technology perspective, so many things blew up after COVID.
Right. But also, like, our habits completely changed, right? I
Mhm.
realized I'm an extrovert and I love to be with people. And during that whole COVID time, it was very rare for me to be, touching a real person, right?
Yeah.
Everything's virtual like we're doing right now. And it became a habit. It became a routine. And then I was going out and being with people, but I realized that I don't have the same energy levels that I had. And that I've actually, my extroversion is actually like doled down as far as extroversion. What it really means is getting my energy from people or being depleted by people. And
Yeah.
I actually am depleted by people way more than I ever was. And I was thinking, okay, well, how do you build back that resilience, right?
Mhm.
My battery ran dry. And so now I can get it charged so much, but it can't ever get to it doesn't seem to be able to get to that full charge like it used to.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's because I have to increase my capacity. It's like you can't just go from, I was talking to my son who's starting a softball team, and I was teasing him about when he was in high school, our church had a church softball team, and all the 30 somethings were pulling tendons and breaking their nose and ended up with surgery and
Right.
all this stuff. Now,
Getting her pulling hamstrings.
so yeah, exactly. So he's like, oh, that's because they were all out of shape and didn't do anything. And I was like, well, yeah. So it's good that you at 25 are realizing I've been sitting around too long, and so now I'm going to go out and join this team and have fun and exercise. But if you waited till you were 30 and you just thought you could do the same thing you did when you were 25, right? You can't do it. And so
Yeah.
that's the same thing for me right now. Is I have this image of what everything was before the pandemic, and so then I went out and it wasn't like that. and people
Mhm.
still aren't there. And it's like you get sick and tired of thinking about the new normal. Well, this doesn't have to be my new normal forever, but I do realize that I have to be really intentional about making myself get out
Mhm.
because I've become so comfortable being at home.
Well, now and with everything being virtual too, it's easy to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that it's easy for me to want to hide behind something virtual. But at the same time, I also recognize that virtual is really important. So
Mhm.
this kind of new hybrid lifestyle, which I've actually been living for a long time. For years, I've been doing things online. For years, I've been coaching women around the world and being coached by people around the world.
Yeah.
And, some of my staff would live in different countries. And, but then like with the pandemic, for me anyway, so many things shut down and I shut myself down. And I realized, oh gosh, just even the last month or so, I didn't realize how depressed I had gotten, how easy it was for me to just forge out and then quickly scurry back in and wait a long time. And so
Yeah.
here I am looking at other women and I realize I'm like, I'm doing the same thing, and
Mhm.
so how do we I think a lot of us have shed a lot of the things that we used to do that kept us busy, busy, busy. But
Yeah.
now I'm like also in a new season of life. I'm truly the empty nester now, and so I'm so just stuck in the ways that I've been doing things for a
Mhm.
while. And it's like, okay, Matthew McConaughey, one of the speakers was just saying that. It's like, I'm trying to get back to where I was, but really, I just need to move like a half inch. You know,
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
just if I just twist a half inch, I'm going to start going into a new direction. And our neural pathways need that anyway because we've been embedded with this way of living now that for 3 years or whatever. And now all of a sudden we're kind of expected to go back to what life was like, except none of us are really sure what that looks like for us.
Yeah. And so even being strong, independent women and, being extroverts, I guess that's just showing that even, every individual is having a hard time getting back to normal. Some people more so than others, or some people just trying to figure out what that normal looks like, or, because I'm the same. I'm an extrovert and, I'm used to getting out on a regular basis. And now I'm just, what? I got to go out. Okay, I'll just combine that all into one day. If I
Right.
can just go out for a couple hours and do what I need to do. Oh, well, I have to go out for that. So I'll do that, that, and that when I go out for that. And so I think that a lot of people are kind of doing that. It's interesting that 3 years can change us so much, right?
Well, I think, well, gosh, 3 years should change us a lot, right? Even if the world was normal, but because we kind of got in this weird freeze frame almost, I think it's bizarre to me that it's been 3 years. Friends of
Mhm.
ours, when I say that Rachel's graduating next month, they're like, I thought she was still a freshman in college, right? Because 3 years didn't exist anymore, right? They're like, oh,
Yeah.
graduating. And yeah, it's so weird. So I kind of think it's kind of both and, right, that we've lived in this bubble that wasn't real life to us, and all of a sudden we think we're going to go back to the normal when everything really has changed and we have changed. And so somehow we have to decide. I don't Part of it is God really has me in a place of lamenting, and I've never thought about lament. I was just writing today in my journal about how I am a very positive person. I'm wired positive. I always look for the silver linings. I'm a strategist, so I'm always like moving forward,
Mhm.
things better. And I got into a book about different spiritual disciplines, and the first one they brought up was lament. And I was like, I never even thought of that as a spiritual discipline. And I think that some of us, me especially, I need to spend some time lamenting about the things that I lost during COVID.
Yeah.
Just sweeping it under the carpet and stuffing it down. I've needed, and then while I've been sick for this past 2 weeks, I've basically been totally alone because I've been isolating myself and my husband's been working crazy hours. I really have grieved. I grieved 5 different actually events that I was supposed to be part of that I couldn't be a part of.
Yeah.
The event that we have coming up, canceling it or rescheduling it really. I grieved things not happening, like where my birthday is coming up. So this is the kind of year that I start getting reflective on, I'm going to be 55,
Yeah.
which is a shock to me. I'm going to be 55. Wow, that's our number. I had an aunt who didn't live to be 55, and she called it the double nickel. And so there's
Yeah.
it's like, this aunt that I loved died of breast cancer, and she didn't make it to 55. So, kind of looking at my life right now and going, what does this look like? And lament, I'm finding, is a really important place to be, acknowledging what's been. But then in order to get it all out, now I can look ahead and go, okay, that's been, and it was important, and I've learned some things, but I'm also this new person, and who do I want to become? And
Yeah.
that, like, when you and I work together, or with the women that we work with, we're looking at, who do they want to become?
Yes.
Who are they being right now? Who are we being right now? And who is that we want to become in the future, right? And how can we create the vision? How can we create the desire? How can we create the relationships that we need in order to live into that?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, looking at like what we want to become and all of there are some good things that came out of 3 years of,
Mm-hmm.
It forced some people to slow down and really relook at their lives. And I go back to, again, technology. Like, I think technology, like a lot of things came out of technology that we probably wouldn't have had with COVID. Like, we're probably more advanced.
Right.
And so how can we use the things that happened during COVID? Because there was a lot of self-reflection from a lot of people. There was, people learning that they overindulge in TV and had to reflect. Like, I had a cousin that said, you know what, she lost a ton of weight during COVID because she said, I just realized if I was going to be sitting around the house during COVID and not getting out, that I was going to gain another, 40, 50 pounds, and it wasn't going to happen. So she went the opposite direction and lost a bunch of weight. So it's like, there's great things that came out of it. And now how do we take that and move forward? Because that's where I think people are struggling, is how do I move forward from that and take that and use it as a positive in my life to continue to, reconnect with the things that I want to do. And the other great thing that came out of it is I think a lot of people realized what they don't want to be doing, and maybe started doing things that they never thought that they would be doing. And so that reconnection piece is really where we're at, of how do we reconnect what we learned during that time to where we are today, and how do we implement?
Right.
The other thing, COVID did, it was the new generation entered the workforce during COVID. So you have, I think, is it Gen Alpha? I think Gen Alpha started entering the workforce during COVID because, we keep talking about millennials. Millennials are in their 40s now. And so.
Are they Gen Z or are they Gen Alpha?
Well, Gen Z is millennial.
Oh, okay. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. And millennials are into their 40s now. And so we keep picking on millennials, but really it's the newer generation. Yeah. I mean, a lot of millennials want to be entrepreneurs and all of that, which is great. But
older, it's the tip of, like, I'm the beginning of the Gen Xers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the earliest millennials are now in their 40s, but I think it's a span of, they're still like they're still like 30 also, like the end of their 20s.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and I relate to a millennial. Like, I understand the flexible work schedule and all of that. Like, I have part millennial in me, even though
I think that's Gen Xers wanted that anyway, right? That's part of how it all came.
We just weren't strong enough to make it all happen and like speak up.
Busy parenting.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think our parents were all too young to teach us how to be courageous and fight for what we want, right? And really encourage us to, at least my parents were. I mean, they were.
I know, I was thinking about that, and I'm blessed with parents. I'm blessed with a father who was raised by strong women, and He worked in education, and so he was surrounded by a lot of women, and he never taught me that boys, my brothers, were any different than me, that there wasn't anything that I shouldn't do or couldn't do. My
Yeah.
church is egalitarian, which means that we believe in women in leadership, that we believe that God made women and men to complement and partner with each other. We're separate, but that we're equal in as far as how God loves us, and the ways that we bear images, and so our responsibilities. So I sometimes come at things and don't understand what other people are thinking or feeling, and I'm
Same.
surprised by it. And then I surprise people by my confidence in what a woman is and should do, and is able to do, and so it's one of those things where I sometimes I feel out of sync. Like I hired a consultant this weekend to come. Well, I didn't hire him this weekend. I hired him. He came this weekend, and we facilitated this ministry retreat. And one of the things that he said was, we'd asked somebody to go and write things on the board. And I have a gal in my ministry that I'm always trying to up level her confidence and her skills and leadership. And she also has really great handwriting. And so I was like, hey, do you want to go, write the stuff on the board? And afterward, when he was processing the activity, he asked her if she felt like she'd been relegated the admin role.
Oh, interesting.
Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, because then she can't contribute. She's just there writing down ideas. And I said, it's really interesting that you view it that way. I said, because I'm a really kinesthetic person, and I generally take the role so that I can write things down. But if you noticed, she also was using her expertise and adding things on the board and directing the conversation by the clarifying questions she was asking. And so then I asked her, I said, did you feel like you were just an admin? And she was like, no. And so it was really interesting to me that here's this man who's a consultant, who's been a pastor for years, and he goes and he helps churches and teams and business teams and stuff. And I'm like, maybe it's because I'm not a corporate person. So Reanette, you tell me, because you come from the corporate background.
I do. And I actually did a couple of videos on this a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, because I have been in the position many of times of being relegated to that admin role when I wasn't asking to be, and I was the only female on the executive team. And so I think there's a difference between maybe a woman asking a woman to do it than a man asking a woman to do it.
Maybe.
Because I think that if men often just assume that that's what's happening, at least that him as a male recognized that that was a possibility. I would say that that is how far we've come, right? That he's actually feeling like that might have been a possibility for her, because there's a time that, and there's also men out there that I don't think they just automatically assume that's the role of a female, right? I mean, I was relegated to, getting the coffee, getting the water, bringing in the agenda and all of that. And I realized that I created that myself because no one else was doing it. And I was taking the leadership role, but I also think it was kind of assumed because I was the female. And so I quit doing it. And people were like, well, where's the agenda? How come there's no waters in here? I'm like, well, there's water in the break room. And the copy machine's out there. Here's my agenda. It's like, you're just as capable of printing out your agenda as I am. Right. And so I think that it just depends on the situation. And so now I'm thinking maybe there's a difference when a female asks a female that rather than a male asking a female to do something like that.
Yeah, maybe. And I was looking at it from we're all teachers in the room essentially, and facilitators anyway, and we all teach Sunday school, and we all do these things. And so for me, the leader is always, to me, the one who's standing. She was standing up. The rest of us were all sitting down on a couch giving her information, right? And so to me, it was like she's the teacher at the board, and she's telling, I don't know. So it's just an interesting way to look at perspectives of what our own ideas are about what's happening and how important it is. Like, he opened my eyes to the fact that maybe she might feel demeaned. It hadn't even occurred to me that she would feel demeaned. I asked her
Mhm.
instead of the youth pastor, just because she is somebody who I'm trying to get to be involved in things. So rather than just sitting back and not contributing,
Uh-huh.
I felt like she would contribute more as she, was facilitating the thing.
Let me ask you this. Is it somebody that is pretty confident in who they are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe she didn't feel that way because of the confidence level. Like, I mean, somebody may ask me to do it and I would be like, man, I don't want to be the one to do it, but I'll do it anyway. But I would never feel like I was being relegated, depending on the situation, to do something because I'm more confident than that. And I think I would stand up for myself and say, no, I think somebody else needs to
Right.
kind
And
of,
she has done that before. She has said, no, I don't really feel like, taking the minutes or whatever.
yeah.
Or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So again, I think that's another way to partner with people, right? When we're thinking like originally we had asked about being power partners, and that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
in leadership for me with this team is I'm really trying to partner with them. I mean,
Yeah.
we're really a committee, and I hate that concept of just showing up to do tasks when really
Yeah.
we're a ministry or a team together serving to make, for a certain outcome. And so being able to partner together and empower the people on the team to be able to do the things that they're gifted at and that they're good at,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can come together for we're reimagining our ministry and what it
Yeah.
looks like in the future.
Yeah.
So anyway, and it takes that whole, we're all power partners together too, because we have to set like an agreed time that we're going to meet and all agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gave up our
Right.
because
Well, and it's a give and take, power partners. It's like you have to give and take. And I think everybody has to understand, like, you have to be in a partnership with people that are understanding who you are. So they understand different personality types. They understand how people operate. They understand how different personality types interact. Because if you don't have that, then you're going to have a lot of this. And so that's what I think is so important, is understanding those personality types.
Yeah, it is.
And how they interact. So I know we are here at the end today,
Yep.
and we've gone a couple minutes over, but if you are out there and you're listening, we're so glad to have you here today and encourage you to join us next Monday at 12:30, where we will probably continue to talk about something of this nature. In fact, I'm thinking something really good to continue to talk about in the Shine Factor is helping understanding the dynamics of women together and understanding those different personality types and how to interact with them and what works well for some people and what doesn't work well for others. Might be a good discussion for next
I
week.
think that would be a great discussion.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for being here, and we will go ahead and sign off for today.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
All have a wonderful, flourishing week, just shining out your gifts and talents. Bye.